Avery, did you want this embedded? The captions embedded? I didn't realize that. Hello? Oh, hi, Avery. Oh my God, I think she wanted them embedded. I didn't know that. Hi, Avery, can you hear me?
Thank you, Avery. Oh, there she is.
Avery, can you hear me? It's the captioner. Did you want the captions embedded? Because I didn't realize that. Oh, she can't hear me. I don't know. Okay. Hey, are you there?
I'm going to call her directly.
Hello, can somebody speak?
Yeah, hi. This is the captioner. Can you hear me?
I can't hear.
You can't?
Can other people hear?
Yes.
You want the captions embedded, do you?
Hello?
Oh. I didn't know that.
Hello? I don't hear anything at all.
But no one is speaking right now.
I hear
Okay, now. Okay. So your sound, we can't really hear you properly. It's like you're in an aquarium. And yeah.
With my headset on, I can't hear anything, but you can hear me. So I will speak through this and then I will take it off after I'm done speaking. Great. So we are currently live. Am I heard well? Yes. Okay. Excellent. And so we will be giving people 5 more minutes to come in. Yeah, to get comfy, but I will end the practice session now, and thank you all for being here.
Can you hear me? It's the captioner. Yeah, okay, yeah, but did you want the captions embedded or just the stream text link?
Just the stream text link, thank you. Yes.
Oh, okay, very good. Yeah, because there's the closed caption at the bottom of the screen, so I was confused.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Yes, that's my bad. But no, yeah, we just need the stream text link.
Okay, thank you very much.
Hello, would you like to speak? The French. Merci, Noël. Thank you, Noël. All right. So if it is good with everybody, I will begin. Really, really happy to have you all here today. And to anybody tuning in, really honored that you've all joined us today. So hello, everyone, and thank you for coming to the closing event for our NOD 2021 festivities. Dawn is so honored to be the official producer of National Accessibility Week for Quebec. And we are so thankful to have had the opportunity to welcome over a dozen artists and activists with disabilities over the course of this week. 2020 was a year that brought to the forefront the deep root of systemic ableism, but also the incredible strength and resilience of our communities. And we wanted to showcase this resilience within our theme of art and activism. The reason that we chose art and activism as our theme for National Accessibility Week 2021 is because it is protest is something that is inherently inaccessible to people with disabilities, but there's so many different ways to protest that just go beyond a march. And we're not only talking about physical disabilities, there's so many different ways that this can manifest itself. And so this week has been super meaningful for me. I've learned a lot. Our whole team has learned a lot, and we really hope that the audience feels like they've also learned. And so again, thank you to our amazing performers for being here today, and for everybody who's tuned in throughout the week. It's just an immense pleasure to get to do this every day, so thank you. For the accessibility piece, this is a bilingual event, so we have simultaneous interpretation in French and English, which you can access by clicking on the globe at the bottom of your screen. If you require simultaneous interpretation and are watching through the swap card, please see the chat box for the link to the Zoom so that you'll be able to hear the French stream or the English stream. We also have ASL and LSQ interpreters who will be pinned at all times. And to access the captions, please see the links which are also in the chat. So before we begin, I am going to do a small land acknowledgement in both French and English. I will be starting in French. So if you are if you are seeing the ASL and LSQ interpretation, please wait momentarily because we have deaf interpreters interpreting from ASL into LSQ, and so they will not pick up on the French part just yet. So please bear with me because I think it's super important to not read a land acknowledgement and to actually say it from your heart, but French is not my first language, so I will have to read it in order to not fumble any words. So please bear with me and thank you so much. Avant de débuter cette importante conversation, nous souhaitons spécifier qu'elle aura lieu sur le territoire non cédé de plusieurs nations autochtones à travers l'île du Tortue. Plus spécifiquement du lieu d'où Dawn est située, à Tiohtià:ke, aussi connu que Montréal, situé sur le territoire non cédé des Kanien'kehá:ka. En tant que colons, nous reconnaissons qu'il n'est pas suffisant de simplement reconnaître la terre sur laquelle nous vivons et nous produisons nos événements. Il est également nécessaire de s'engager à apprendre comment prendre du recul, céder l'espace et centraliser des voix des individus autochtones les plus marginalisés qui sont trop souvent peu entendus. Ceci étant dit, une manière concrète d'aider et de soutenir les Autochtones à Tiohtià:ke et de soutenir les organisations qui travaillent auprès d'eux, comme le Native Women's Shelter et Résilience Montréal. Nous allons copier les liens vers ces organisations dans le chat, mais nous vous encourageons également à regarder les liens et réfléchir à comment vous pouvez soutenir le travail en cours par ces organisations. Nous encourageons également les individus qui se joignent à nous d'à travers le monde de faire le même et de voir quelles organisations autochtones vous pouvez soutenir dans vos propres communautés et villes. So before diving into our event today, we will start by saying that this conversation is happening on the unceded Indigenous territories of many Indigenous lands across Turtle Island, one of which I am sitting on today, actually in BC, the land of the Tsleil-Waututh people. So I wanted to take a minute to say that. I am also in the province currently where 215 bodies of children were found. And so I've been wearing an orange shirt all week to recognize this, and I'm not today, but I am still thinking about this all the time. And it's really important that we put in our time and money and do more than just saying these land acknowledgements, because colonization is an ongoing process and not something of the past, and we need to be remembering that. So again, I'm recognizing the land that Dawn is also situated on, which is in Tiohtià:ke or Montreal, and on the unceded territories of the Kanien'kehá:ka. As settlers, we recognize that it's not sufficient to acknowledge the land that we work and produce events on. We also need to do the work to do a better job of stepping back, ceding space, and centering the too often unheard voices of the most marginalized Indigenous folks. With that said, one concrete way to help in supporting Indigenous folks in Tiohtià:ke specifically is to support community organizations that work with Indigenous folks, like the Native Women's Shelter and Resilience Montreal. We will be pasting the links to these organizations in the chat box, but we also encourage folks to check out the links and see how they can support the ongoing work of these organizations. We also encourage folks who are joining from different parts of the world to do the same and see which local Indigenous organizations they can support in their own communities. Again, when you're doing so many different interpretations into different languages, it's really important to have texts given to these interpreters so that they can make sure that this information is given as succinctly and efficiently as possible to our deaf participants. And so I just want to recognize again that it isn't enough to just read a text, but also it is the most efficient way to get this material to all of our participants and make this accessible. So I apologize. It will never be enough, whatever, and we have to do as much as we possibly can. So I am now going to start by saying thank you again for everybody for being here, and we are going to have an amazing event featuring four really amazing artists with disabilities, and I'm just super in awe and honored to be viewing their talent today. So I'm going to start by passing it over to Renee Yoxon, and enjoy, everybody. I really hope you have an amazing performance today and a great end to National Accessibility Week. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Avery, for inviting me today. And so I'm really pleased to be here among all these wonderful performers and, of course, interpreters and Dawn staff. I don't do a lot of performing anymore because, as some of you know, I mostly teach nowadays, and I'm very privileged to get to teach trans individuals about voice modulation all over the world. In fact, the last performance I did was here for last year's NAW event, National Accessibility Week. So I'm going to perform 3 songs for you. They are all new songs, they're unreleased, and the first one features a guitar player whose name is Matt Schultz, and it's called Imagination. Imagination's playing tricks on me again. Under the covers, I could swear I feel her hand. imagination's playing tricks on me again. Under the summer tree, she wished that this would never end. She said, I'm tired of love songs where everybody's hurt. And then she said, let's throw our records in the sea and kiss like in the movies. Imagination's playing tricks on me again. For on her perfect cheek, I swear, I see the color bloom again. She said, I like you, and I'd like to be a little more than friends. Okay, she said it with her eyes, those hazel moons of heaven light. It's either magic or it's tragic. How am I supposed to tell? Well, I could ask her, but I'd have to find the courage in me. Ooh, ooh, Imagination's playing tricks on me again. Under the covers, I could swear I feel her hand. Thank you so much. Normally I would drink water while applause is happening and it's not awkward, but we have to do it in silence now. So the next song I'm going to play is called Mechanicsville, and I wrote it a couple years ago when I was doing my master's in songwriting. And it's about a time when I was struggling. Oh, I see the interpreters need to be switched over, so I'll just wait a moment. Avery, can you tell me when I should continue?
Yes, yes, I will give you the head. Excellent. Thanks, Renee.
I'm not sure I'm still pinned. If I need to be pinned, I don't know. Ah, there we go. All right. So yeah, I wrote this song Mechanicsville about a time when I was living in Ottawa, in Mechanicsville. And it was a beautiful place, one of the best neighborhoods in Ottawa, but I was struggling with chronic pain very, very badly at the time. So, and it was impacting my relationships. And so this is about looking back on a time and a place that has dual memories, both good and bad. And it's called Mechanicsville. It's always early summer in Mechanicsville. The lemongrass is always overgrown. The patty pans and peppers paint a picture-perfect scene of Saturday adventures like a technicolor dream. The lavender's in bloom and you can feel it in the air as little girls play hopscotch and pin daisies in their hair. And oh, it was so easy. Oh, Oh, it was so easy. There's a yard sale at the neighbors selling sundry kitchen kind. And a coffee shop on Parkdale where I asked you to be mine. Our plaster painted smiles are growing faded in the sun. And overwatered wishes wilting one by one. The shadows on the pavement tell the story of our lives, and they speak of an estrangement without uttering a cry. A symphony of June bugs fills the stony silent space as we learn under the moon what love can look like without grace. And oh, it was so easy. Oh, it was so easy. And oh, it was so easy. Oh, it was so easy. And oh, it was so easy. Oh, it was so easy. It's always early summer in Mechanicsville. The lemongrass is always overgrown. The patty pans and peppers paint a picture-perfect scene of Saturday adventures like a technicolor dream. And oh, it was so easy. Oh, it was so easy. And oh, it was so easy. Oh, it was so easy. And oh, it was so easy. Oh, it was so easy. And oh, it was so easy. Oh, it was so easy. Thank you. I have one more song for you, and this one is my most recent song. I probably only wrote it a couple of months ago. It's called Memories of You, and I wrote it about, this makes me emotional. I've been separated from my partner for 1.5 years now. Oh, it hurts just to say it out loud. And he's in France. I'm here, you know. Someday we'll be reunited, hopefully soon, but I wrote this just thinking about what would I have done differently had I known that we would be apart for so long? I didn't know this was going to make me so emotional. It's called Memories of You. So here we go. Baby, I never took you for granted. Told you that I loved you each and every day. Maybe it didn't turn out how we planned it. The fates never listen, let alone obey. If I knew then what I know now, I never would have run from our hallowed ground. I would have tried a little harder just to spend a little longer with you. If I had known the storm that was a-coming, I would have looked into your eyes and said a real goodbye. But I can't turn back time or message my past self these rhymes. I guess I'll have to be content with what I have. My memories of you. Baby, I'm always looking at your picture, spinning your ring on my finger each and every day. Maybe someday I'll pass by a mirror and not stop to linger at the tears upon my face. If what I know now I could know then, I would have moved mountains just to see you again. I would have traveled any distance just to spend my brief existence with you. If I'd known the storm that was a-coming, I would have kissed you soft and slow and never let you go. But I can't turn back time or message my past self these rhymes. I guess I'll have to be content with what I have. Because I didn't know then what I know now. I didn't see the water pouring down. I thought there was no limit on every minute with you. If I had known the storm that was a-coming, I would have kissed you soft and slow and never let you go. But I can't turn back time or message my past self these rhymes. I guess I'll have to be content with what I have. My memories of you. Memories of you. Memories of you. Thank you so much.
Wow, I'm absolutely speechless, and I'm sorry that I have to speak now because I definitely had a little cry with my camera off. So thank you for that, Renee. I'm going to change the pinned interpreters, so please give me 1 second. All right, thank you everybody for bearing with me. We want to assure that the interpreters are always seen while we're speaking, so thank you for waiting. I now have the immense pleasure of passing the mic over to Eli Tark, who is an incredible poet based in Montreal, and I'm a great fan of their work. So really, really excited to have them here today, and I will allow them to introduce themselves a little bit more. But thank you, and I hope that everybody is enjoying this show as much as I am so far.
Hi, everyone. I'm hoping that the sound is good. I've been doing readings outside now that it's sunny. Because it's so much nicer than being at my desk. So that's been a fun way to kind of feel connected to the outdoors instead of in a little room. My name is Eli, or Eli Tark, Eli for short. And I am a queer / trans Arab writer living in Jojage and working from Jojage. I wrote a book that came out last year called Not Body, which is what I will be reading from. And it is a book of poems and a lyrical essay and a bunch of letters that I will be reading, mostly letters and then one poem. And it's about living with chronic pain and fibromyalgia and kind of what that means for people who are marginalized, particularly trans people and BIPOC. So I'll just go and start with the first one. Dear friends, lovers, and in-betweens. I forgot to take my probiotics for a few days and my shit got a little runnier. The things going on in my stomach are hard to explain. I'm not a scientist. I just listen to whoever sounds the most convincing. My last roommate told me 50 billion live cultures is where it's at. I take his advice, keep it in my back pocket for years. Every time someone asks about probiotics, I say 50 billion is where it's at. My tape recorder mouth rewinding for the next time someone asks me. Be confident and you can be convincing. My aunt takes her health into her own hands. She starts asking her doctor to prescribe her meds for her brain, for the pain, for her stomach, for anything she thinks might not be working. She becomes a pharmacist in her own right. When my sister starts having stomach aches, she tells her, take this, and my mom obliges. The skeptic in me rises and a quick Google search shows it's more dangerous than it leads on. I tell my aunt, you're not a pharmacist, and feel shitty while saying it. She crawls into the ball she always goes into when she's being shamed. You hurt me, she says, and I can almost see a bruise forming on her arm. I forget to research the new medicine prescribed to me. I forget to remember its name. I say, I don't care, I can finally sleep. The skeptic in me has been sedated. I'm too exhausted to invest in the research. The sleep deepens, I go into a better state of rest. The grump moves on to bigger and better things. I can once again abuse my body to its limits because capitalism isn't going to let me stop, especially now that I can stay awake. Watch me serving coffee again, my legs ready to fall off. XOXO, Eli. So I wanted to say thank you to all the interpreters who are working really hard today. We are asked to pause for 5 minutes. So I guess I'll do that.
I'm sorry, there's a problem with the texts not being to the interpreters. Just one second, please. I'm really not sure if we can pause for 5 minutes, to be totally honest. Okay, 60 seconds. Awesome. I don't have any jokes. I'm honestly not a very funny person. But I will do my best. Anybody else in this room, in this Zoom, have some jokes they want to tell for 60 seconds? The interpreter, okay, well, that's a joke. The interpreter said, no, don't tell any jokes because then I will have to interpret them. Thank you. We are paused now. Everybody, please go get water, take care of yourselves, emotionally digest everything that Renee and Eli have said so far. And we'll be back in 2. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for bearing with us while we figured that out. Excellent. We are at dawn, we have a saying that says, go the way of the turtle, which is from one of our Indigenous partners and friends, Lynn Gale. And going the way of the turtle means that means that you follow the people that are the slowest, and then you find the most truth. And healing that way. So we're following the way of the turtle today, which sometimes means taking a 5-minute break right in the middle of somebody's performance to assure that the interpreters can interpret best for our deaf audiences. So thank you so much for following the turtle with us today. We are going to welcome Eli back. And I think everything looks good to continue. Heart emojis being sent in the Zoom chat. Excellent. We love to see it. Great. So Eli, take it away whenever you're ready.
Hi again, everyone. Sorry, I'm just trying to figure out which poems I need to read in which order. I guess I just wanted to also start, I cannot even remember if I thanked anyone before, as one does when they start reading. I feel like sometimes my brain just like leaves and I'm like on autopilot talking. So I wanted to thank all the interpreters for all the great work they're doing, and all the other performers, even those who I haven't seen yet, because I'm sure it's going to be great. And I want to thank Avery and Lily, especially Avery, for inviting me and for your like sweet words before. So that's really great. So I'm going to, I realized, so this is my book that I'm reading from. I realized I could read from the book and show you the book. So let's do that. I'm just gonna make sure I'm reading in the right order. Okay. So this is another letter. Dear friends, lovers, and in-betweens. Standing in front of a pool of hot water, my body is ready for a disassociation that never comes. What a pleasant surprise. I remember the time my hands overheated so much in the low dish sink at work, all wet and wrinkly, my body feeling elsewhere, the heat rising in me, my feet no longer connected to my body. You tell me we must first jump into the hot, then the cold, but we mustn't scream. We wince going into the cold pool while this older lady toughs it out, starts doing the breaststroke. We breathe deeply to remind ourselves our bodies are not being attacked, but I still jump out of the pool before you, not wanting the cold water to touch my junk. Bessel van der Kolk is in the hands of every queer on the queerest bus in Montreal. The 80 houses them all, reading about trauma and boasting their somatic knowledge. I ask Bessel what it means that I don't fight or flight, and he tells me, freeze is most effective for you. I laugh because it's winter in Montreal, so we're all frozen, but Bessel doesn't get the joke. He's hard to make laugh, so I try harder, telling him that I forgot a memory, but it came back so suddenly that it smacked me right back into bed. My knees start hurting when I walk upstairs. My back hurts when I lean in too much. Bessel asks me why I think pain is funny, and I don't have an answer. Would my life be less fun if I didn't laugh when my wrists start feeling like those of a person with osteoarthritis? I haven't lived long enough for my bones to wear down over time. Bessel has no humor, but I decide not to ditch him. I tell Bessel, I'm only 25. You gotta think it's funny that I feel 80. Bessel thinks it's sad, and this is when I ditch him. Coke in Dutch means pond, depth, abyss, chasm, and vortex. I think Bessel might be too deep for me. XOXO Eli. All right, let's see what the next one I'm reading is. Oh, it's right. It's the next poem, so that's perfect in the book. So this poem is called The Fatigue. It's also really nice to be doing a reading, sorry, for disabled writers. I think I've only really come into my understanding of chronic pain and fibromyalgia in the past few years, and kind of my limitations, and it's definitely been a learning experience and kind of really changed my perspective about a lot of things. And it's really nice to be doing a reading with other disabled writers, and also to be thinking through what that means as such a large community, of which I make a small part of, and of which my experience is very particular. But it's still, yeah, I guess I just want to say it's really nice to be here. So this one's called The Fatigue. It's very apt because I'm very tired today, so it's perfect. The fatigue is just fatigue. It sprays my body like a numbing agent. Say the way I sleep might not be working. Say the way I eat might not be working. Hope to God the meds start working. The other day, she said, you need firmer boundaries. Sometimes this looks like an earlier bedtime. Fuel your body with hope that something might change. Like a bowl of rice, steaming, put it in your mouth and huff. Too quick, too impatient. But if nothing changes, keep moving. A challenge is only a challenge once you stop trying. No, I mean, a challenge is always a challenge when your body doesn't work right. What is right? They only say the right side of history when a few decades have passed. Someday we will look back and see much of the same. Say thank you for your friends and the family that stay in touch. Was it challenging? Everything is changing. The fatigue is just fatigue until it's not. I'm just going to pause for a second.
All right, is this
Ah, ok. Est-ce que c'est...
Okay, great. Sorry. Okay, so good. Okay, Eli, you do have 2 more poems. That's amazing. So my camera was just on for no reason. Have you had a good break water? Would you like some more time?
No, it's okay. I'm just making sure that interpretation is okay.
Okay.
Because I'm not sure if the interpreter has my poems or someone else's, and they think it's my poems. So.
Okay.
So I just want to take a sec to make sure.
Yes.
That is okay. But once I get the go ahead, then I will go.
Noelle, can you confirm? Okay, perfect. All right. Thank you, everybody.
Okay, cool. Thanks everyone for your patience. It's nice for everyone to get the chance to listen to the poems. So sometimes you just gotta take time. So the next poem is called Holding the Body. Those who cannot forget the past are destined to remix it. Evie Shockley, The New Black. This is the way I wash my body, wash my body, wash my body. This is the way I wash my body of everything but tender thoughts. Investigating, does this feel good? Does this feel good? Does this? The way I'm always on stage, you're all looking at my body out back and off the stage laid open. And oh, the lilacs are coming out, striking, but still feeling that lack. How often I'm left ajar, open and seamless, an invitation fraying at the joints, like those pants bulging, growing. My dad screams, thunder thighs, across the room. My dad weighs less than me. Holding my body locked in, catch those thighs from chub rub, but that chub will keep on rubbing and those pants will keep on breaking and you will never be held tightly for long. Where did I go wrong? This is the way I wash my body, wash my body, wash my body. This is the way I wash my body of starving on a diet. How tragic to be such a slender thread of a person. How tragic to give up carbs when bread tastes so good. Remember, fat equals good, fat equals good, fat equals good, fat equals God. Don't try that diet shit on me. Don't try that shame shit on me. Get out of my house. Yeah, I said it. How dare I be so bold? Thunder thighs. Yeah, I said it. How dare I be so bold? A body, a body, a body. Do you believe in animosity? Do you believe in heaven for the next generation? Fat, thickened, laid out like a prize to be won. This is the way.
C'est ainsi que je lave.
Sorry. All right, I'm going to continue. I'm not sure. This is the way I wash my body, wash my body, wash my body. This is the way I wash my body of knots, knots, knot. I am a knot of what you think. How tragic to be so cemented in sex or a gender sexed, the body so bold and free, starting the fray along the seams, edges, a ridge of empathy. But tell me really, is anyone cis these days? This is the way I sometimes feel like a girl when you touch me, but only when you touch me. But I don't tell you and I don't show you my body. But isn't that the truth? And isn't that a mess? And you saying a woman, ladies, won't get me down the way you want me to. What, not a woman? Yeah, that's the truth. And what, not a man? Oh yeah, that's true too. Like, is that even real? Guess I'm the proof, the truth. Just part of the equation. This is the way I wash my body, wash my body, wash my body. This is the way I wash my body of everyday knots, pulling pieces apart to distance them from me. Them, but still pretty. This is the way I hold it close, them and me, leaking out of my body just for me. This is the way I wash my body, wash my body, wash my body. This is the way I wash my body of thickening knots. She asks you, does it hurt? Your voice cracking and changing, constantly on the move up and down your throat. Your vocal cords changing, growing 20 times their size. The Grinch's heart. You are thickening, lengthening, the larynx, testosterone heavy. Yeah, baby. We like them thick. Yeah, we said it. Yeah, baby. And a rip, rip, rip of my chest, a deep gash red left to heal. Pieces of me plucked out. Do I need to spell it out? This body transmorphing, fat lumps of chest. Where do they go? Pieces of me lying in an emacious basin. kidney-shaped and sterile, served on a platter. Can we eat you like the placenta? Is this how I give life? Oh, you, it's like I never knew you. Left in a plastic bin, marked hazardous, waste of space. But I think I might have known you. Why do you look so familiar? Damn, did we go to high school together? All right, so I just have one more poem letter to read. Thanks again for having me. Oh, I also want to mention that I have another book coming out this year in September called The Good Arabs, out with Matonmi Press, which is a really great press who, if you haven't checked out, they're like a queer and trans press. You should check out their work because they're great and everything they publish is golden, so worth checking out. But yeah, my book will be out in September, probably end of, I think it's the 21st of September, and it's called The Good Arabs. So here's the last poem. Dear friends, lovers, and in-betweens, please know that when I'm in bed, I'm thinking of you. Not in a sexy way, unless that's what we've decided. So sometimes in a sexy way, but mostly in a missing way. I always miss you, no matter how close or far you are. Sometimes I forget to miss you if you've been away too long, and that is my biggest sadness. I think I look at my phone too much, but mostly it's to remember you. Send me a text telling me you're on the metro or taking a shit or need me to text you out of a panic attack. Send me beautiful selfies of your face or your desk or the office dog. When we are far, we can be close if I just think about you enough. Sometimes my hands turn into claws and the ache stops me from texting. Know then that I still love you. Maybe call me, maybe wait a little longer. Sometimes I'll text you through the pain and I promise that's sacrificial love. I'm not saying it's right, but is love right or wrong? If you're my mom, stop reading now. If you're my friend, do as you please. The bed is my favorite site for pain, for pleasure, for both. When I'm always in pain, it might be a surprise that I want someone to fuck me so hard it aches. The ways I control my pain are the most delicious. I stack books by my bed to remember faraway friends. It's not an original thought, but I've always looked at books for salvation, a departure from my body to another in movement, in love, in action, in difference, in change. Solidarity from my bed to yours, or your couch, or your wheelchair, or you're sitting on the metro while old people glare at you to get out of the accessible seat despite your legs being filled with cement from the inside. Maybe one day we'll know how to love each other in all of our dignity. XOXO, Eli. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much for sharing these amazing reflections with us. And it's such a pleasure to hear you speak them yourself after I have read these with my own mind. So thank you so much. I will now pass on the mic to Maxime. Et donc, on va changer en français. Et je remercie tous les personnes francophones qui ont été ici depuis qu'on commence et qu'on parle en anglais. Et, oui, c'est c'est un gros plaisir de vous avoir. Donc, je vais partager le film de Maxime. Et elle va parler un peu de soi-même et de sa pratique et tout. Donc, merci tout le monde d'être ici.
Bonjour, je suis Maxime. I'm Maxime. Thanks for having me. This is an honor to be there with amazing performers. Je suis vraiment très heureuse de faire partie du showcase de Dawn aujourd'hui. J'habite à Montréal, Diodake. Je suis une artiste multidisciplinaire. je travaille dans les arts de la scène et en danse inclusive, en danse intégrée notamment, pour la compagnie Corpuscule Danse. Et je présente aujourd'hui la vidéo « Je marche » qui a été réalisée par la chorégraphe et danseuse française Aude Vuillemin. C'est une création in situ qu'on a réalisée en France. Et donc, c'est multidisciplinaire. Il y a aussi de la poésie et de la musique qui est intégrée à la vidéo. Et donc, je veux m'assurer que aussi les interprètes et tout le monde, on est prêt avant de commencer et de projeter la vidéo. I can also speak in English if needed to. So this is a short performance that was shot in France on location. And here we go. And maybe I could talk. Anyway, we'll have time to talk about it. On va avoir du temps pour en parler après. Et voilà. Ben, je vous souhaite un bon visionnement. Et je vais enlever ma caméra parce que sinon, c'est un peu bizarre de me regarder le film. Donc, à tout de suite.
C'est fou comme le temps file. Tu vois, le temps, c'est un élastique et certains jours il te pète dans les doigts. Mais ne pleure pas sur tes mains. C'est ton cœur qui dégueule de aïe. Quand ma tête débordée de vide ne tient plus en place, je n'ai plus que mes pieds pour me sauver, alors je pars. Je me laisse avaler dans les vallées des vallées. Aussi raide que mes cheveux, j'ai beau me répéter en boucle toutes les envolées de elle, toutes les allitérations d'elle. Mes pensées luttent avec la gravité. Je marche la terre, et je peux t'assurer que la lourdeur d'une âme en larmes défie toutes les pesées. Elle se fout des chiffres, ignore les nombres, transforme les mots en analphabètes et son ombre, oui, son ombre ne craint aucune noirceur. Je marche la terre, je mâche le terre. Que le ciel est trop haut aujourd'hui. Je n'ai même pas achevé ma peur du jour que je tremble déjà pour celle de cette nuit. Je marche la terre. J'enclume la terre. Mais je sais que mes deux pieds finiront par me sauver.
Voilà!
Wow, j'ai tellement d'émotions. C'est comme la deuxième fois aujourd'hui dans le spectacle que je pleure de nouveau. Euh, il y a tellement de douceur, mais également de férocité dans ce film-ci et c'est juste émouvant. Merci beaucoup d'avoir partagé ça. J'aimerais dire plus, mais en fait, j'ai pas de mots. J'ai vraiment pas de mots. Merci beaucoup, Maxime.
Merci, merci aussi de m'avoir permis de le représenter et d'avoir inclus la discipline de la danse. C'est plus difficile à faire live dans mon petit bureau chez moi, donc de pouvoir me permettre de remontrer le film. Et je suis toujours très heureuse quand ça se passe aussi dans un contexte qui rejoint les femmes et les femmes en situation de handicap. Donc, merci encore.
Avant qu'on continue avec Elle Jones, j'aimerais vraiment que tu pourrais parler un peu de comment le film a été créé, genre, parce que je sais que tu étais en France quand tu as fait ce film-ci et j'aimerais que le public pourrait savoir un peu par rapport à ça avant qu'on continue.
Oui, ben oui, je peux prendre quelques minutes. J'ai rencontré Aude à Montréal. Elle était venue faire un atelier avec Corpuscule Danse. Donc, je crois que c'était quelque chose comme en 2014 ou 2015 qu'on s'est rencontrés. Elle travaille dans sa propre pratique aussi avec des artistes handicapés comme pédagogue. Et donc, elle venait voir à Montréal finalement la scène ici, puis comment ça se passait. On a gardé contact. Et c'est quelques années plus tard, moi, j'allais en Europe pour le travail et je lui ai seulement proposé, j'ai dit, est-ce que je peux aller peut-être faire un atelier dans un cours avec toi? Et finalement, elle avait envie de créer quelque chose, donc c'est elle qui a eu en tête cette idée de film-là, cette idée de performance extérieure. Et donc, la caméra est un témoin pour notre performance. C'était dans une carrière abandonnée, donc où il fallait passer en dessous de clôture pour pouvoir se rendre sur le lieu. On a tourné en une seule journée. On voit des différences avec le soleil et le temps qui passe, les ombres par terre qui sont différentes parce que la journée avance. Et donc, après ça, moi, je continuais mon chemin. Puis c'est elle qui a travaillé vraiment la vidéo. Ça a été diffusé. La première a été diffusée en 2018 en Hongrie au Media Wave Film and Music Festival, je pense que c'est le titre. Et ça a été diffusé en 2019 ici au Rendez-vous Québec Cinéma. Dans un programme aussi avec d'autres vidéodances, d'autres types de performances. Et voilà, c'est un peu comment c'est arrivé dans mon parcours. Fait que c'est vraiment très DIY, indépendant. Et donc, on est toujours très heureuse de pouvoir lui redonner une autre vie après dans des événements comme aujourd'hui.
Merci beaucoup, Maxime. Et je crois que la public va avoir beaucoup de questions pour la fin aussi, plus par rapport à ça. So now I'm going to switch back into English. I will let the interpreters do so. All right. Before we pass the mic over to Elle Jones, who I am so excited to have here today. She is such an important name in in Canadian spoken word. Spoken word in Canada, sorry. So before we continue, I really would like to invite the audience to please think about the kinds of questions that you would like to ask our amazing performers today, because we've already seen 3 great works, and we're in for another absolute treat with Elle Jones. I will be reading your questions in the chat and relaying them to our performers. So I think that it would be great if you could take some time now while Elle is performing to think of what you would like to say. So now I will pass the focus over to Elle Jones, who is a Nova Scotia-based poet and the poet laureate of Nova Scotia, aren't you, Elle Jones?
I used to be.
An artivist, activist artist, and I will let her finish her introduction and absolutely blow you away, I'm sure. Thank you so much for being here, Elle.
Thank you for having me, and thank you, everybody. And wow, the performances before were so amazing and beautiful and courageous and raw and vulnerable. I aspire to the bravery shown in those performances. So thank you so much, everybody. As said, I'm joining you from Jabuktuk, Halifax, the unceded, unsurrendered territory of the Mi'kmaq people. I'm just going to do 3 poems. I do want to put a bit of a warning. Some of this material is maybe heavy, so I just want to make sure that people protect their mental health. This first poem is just about the prison system in Canada. In Canada, if you suffer with mental illness, if you're Indigenous, if you're Black, if you can't pay the bills, we don't fund more beds. We don't pay for treatment. We lock you away in a prison where it seems more convenient. It actually costs more, but still our use is more frequent. Jails are where we warehouse people with addictions. We say it's a medical issue, but then hand out convictions. And we say, let's talk about mental illness, but this remains hidden. In fact, they make money off phone calls from prison. The UN calls solitary torture, but we continue with placements. We'll say you get the help you need there, but don't give any training. Over 80% of women in jail are victims of trauma, but we continue to act like their punishment's karma. Residential schools pass down from grandmother to mama. And if, like so many women, you can't cope with that harm, they'll put you in isolation behind locks and alarms. They'll strip you of your clothes, put you in a suicide gown, leave the lights on all night. Sometimes you're strapped down. If you're wondering if anything's cured by this humiliation, most people lie and say they're better just to stop being degraded. Does this sound like the kind of treatment we should have in this nation? Did we ever ask why there's so many Indigenous people in there? And the rate of Black women goes up every year. And who do we think ends up shot by the cops? Mentally ill Black men outside a coffee shop. Or while our jails are more crowded than ever, though crime rates have dropped. And I know people so desperate they tried to get caught because it was the only thing they could think of to get the addiction to stop. In winter, there's homeless men who go in for the cot, but please don't think there's comfort just because meals can be hot. And there's suffering passed down from generation to generation, abuse of Indigenous people, a legacy of colonization, and our solution isn't more care, it's more legislation. Black people don't get help. They just label us angry. Strong Black women who can't say we aren't happy. Black men can't have feelings. They say it's unmanly, and then they hand us out sentences like handing out candy. I know people who died in there, some by suicide. I could talk about a woman who set herself on fire, but if you die in a prison in my province, no one has to inquire. It can take years for families to find out what even transpired. Ashley Smith, who the staff watched expire from behind the locked door. Off the top of my head, I could think of a dozen more. Is this what we sentence people to in the courts? If it was one CEO died this way, do you think it would happen? But when it's people with mental illness, it's just part of the pattern. Families lied to because they don't even matter. Bodies left battered while hearts are left shattered. And the reports always say that their heart just stopped beating. Guards on his back, but we don't know why he stopped breathing. Pepper sprayed in the shower, but who could know the reason? Somehow the tape isn't clear. No witnesses speaking, no evidence in the cell. Someone started cleaning. Do the crime, do the time, says the public, as we pass another season, labeled a criminal like their life has no meaning. Do we have the death penalty in this country for schizophrenia? These are the stories that no one wants to listen to. Question why prison expansion projects cost millions and tough on crime policies get votes for politicians. In this country, there's money in prisons and the mentally ill are the primary victims. Prison is not housing, therapy, or rehabilitation. It's a cycle of poverty, pain, and desperation. I'm sorry if my poem isn't a message of inspiration, but too many are living in a crisis situation. If you have a loved one in prison, all I can say is be strong. If you're struggling doing time, keep your head up, hold on. And for families who never talk about what's going on and deal with the shame alone while the sentence is long, I say to you, the shame isn't yours. It's the system that's wrong. And one day, I pray that the bars will be gone. Thank you, everybody. I'm going to stay with the theme of prison. Most of my work is with people inside, and I think it's really, really important for those of us with freedom to continue to bear witness to the words and lives of people who are hidden away from us. Everybody in this poem gave permission to share these stories. I want to make that clear because we know that often people don't have options about who speaks about them and who's given a platform to share their stories. So this is just some storytelling about prison. T comes into prison, a proud white supremacist. He's got swastikas tattooed on his neck and KKK on the knuckles on his fists. And the last prison he was in, there's a guy he already killed. But there's a black guy on the range. And somehow they start to chill. He says, just cover that shit around me if we're going to coexist. And they're both doing life over blood that they have spilled. And slowly, somehow, their friendship starts to build. Well, T gets transferred out. And from the depths, he sends a letter. Thank you for your friendship, for helping me be better. He says, my sister was gang raped at a party by black guys, and I decided every single black guy was the same in my eyes. I was so angry that my hate was twisting me inside. Thank you for showing me another way. Thank you for saving me. If we've never struggled to make a change, what do we know of bravery? What do we know about transformation in these places where we're breaking people down? D is waiting in the hole. It's been 7 or 8 months now. One day he loses it in his cell and starts trashing everything around, and then he hears a knock. And he thinks, what now? I can't take anymore. This pressure has to stop. And a hand reaches through his slot. And D's on edge, thinking it's someone here to take a shot. The guy's high up in a gang, a soldier at the top, but he opens up his fist. And there's a jade and black crucifix. And all he says is simply, I thought you needed this. What do we know of human kindness and the places it exists? When we sentence people to life and say their humanity's eclipsed, and we send them behind the bars and condemn them to the abyss. And massacre toasts bread and hides it in the fridge. He grew up on a remote reserve with no food when he was a kid. Captain Crunch at Christmas is what his mother knew of gifts, and uncles struggling with their own addictions who taught him how to fix when residential schools left generations broken bits, and the other guys bug him now because he only owns one lime green pair of sweats. So when someone offers him $20, that's as good as it gets. They ask him to heat up butter in a microwave and throw it in a face, and he gets dragged off to solitary, but for him, it's not a waste because $20 is enough to get a couple weeks canteen. What do we know of desperation when our stomach's full when we go to sleep? What do we know of wounding, where the trauma runs so deep And so we lock people down, never allowed out into the open, but the light gets through the cracks in the places that were broken. So many lives that disappear and their stories are unspoken. So we never hear of resilience, of creativity, of hoping. I'm reading Facebook and I see a status that touches me profoundly. I love my murderer friends. One of the women proclaims proudly and everyone reacts with horror and disgust. But she says, I spent years in with these women, the only ones I could trust, and I'm not going to throw them under the bus. I'm not going to abandon. You don't know what's inside people when you just judge them at random, and I know what she means. When murderer is the worst label, when we couple it with love, it makes our judgment seem unstable. And so we condemn a woman, loving deeper than we're able, as if murderer and loved one could never be connected. What do we know of affection when we don't live together in oppression? Everything I know about forgiveness, it was prisoners taught the lesson. And I keep suggesting to a teenage prisoner that he go outside for exercise. You get sick, I tell him. You'll disappear inside depression. And finally, he tells me that a year after he'd been inside, he was let out in the yard and bent and touched a blade of grass. And then he overheard a conversation between guards. They said, that kid's been in so long. He's happy just to touch the ground. And after that, it was too hard. So he just stays on his range now. What do we know of freedom when we've never been held down? And there's a young Mi'kmaq man who calls me and he tells me that he's fine. And then I link him to his mother and he starts crying on the line and he tells her he almost died because he drank hand sanitizer. What do we know of pain when numb's the only option for survival and there are teenagers inside who are shaking on arrival? And I think that it's obscene that every courtroom has a Bible and then we sentence human beings to places where if they're suicidal, they strip them of their clothes and throw them in solitary confinement. And once you get a record, that's a judgment that is final. And there's no supports when you get out, so you're forced to repeat the cycle. What do we know of forgiveness when our vengeance still is primal? And there's so many minds going to waste full of knowledge that is vital. Who knows if the cure for AIDS is in a mind that's sitting idle and in spite of their situation, they're still maintaining their humanity. I host a radio show with prisoners and people complain about profanity. And I tell them music is the only thing that helps them keep their sanity. And actually, I say, we have people calling in from solitary confinement to excuse them if they don't quite meet your standards of refinement. And they're assigned to jobs in sweatshops making products on consignment, or they're deprived of medication and you want them to be silenced? What do you know of self-expression when you've never had to fight to write? And there are suicidal women forced to sleep without their mattresses, dehumanizing conditions seen as just everyday practices, and people talk of justice as if it's just a scale that balances, while families and communities are grieving all the absences. If we've never sat inside a cell, what do we possibly know of damages? But I've seen things come out of prison that I would call miraculous. Love, forgiveness, resilience, generosity, and thankfulness. What I know of being human comes from being a prison activist. So to all my people doing time, thank you for making me compassionate. Thank you, everybody. I'm going to do one last poem. This poem comes from the Women in Nova Institution, which is the federal prison for women. And one of the women asked me, do you have a poem? By the way, federal prison for women, not everybody in a prison for women necessarily identifies as a woman. I just wanted to say that. But one of the women asked me, do you have a poem about the shit that women go through in our lives and how we heal from it? And I promised her that I would write her that poem, and that's where this poem comes. So I'm sorry for the interpreters. You're about to have to sign the word shit about 80 times. Thank you so much for the beautiful work you're doing. I know I talk really fast, so I really admire, the work you're doing to interpret this. Thank you so much. If you've done shit in your life, recognize, apologize, then move forward and let it lie. If you got shit in your life, analyze, then energize. Move yourself forward and let it lie. If they treat you like shit, strategize. Mobilize to get them out of your life. If he says you ain't shit, then realize he is speaking bullshit and lies, and reprioritize. No, you deserve better than that, and say your goodbyes. I know you have it in you, girl, to rise. I have seen other women come through these trials, and you will survive. What doesn't kill us makes us wise. If they say you can't do shit, then organize. Don't be surprised when you discover how strong you are inside. The sky is the limit, so don't compromise. Don't let them cut you down to size. If you are feeling bad shit, then let yourself cry. Know that you are bigger than your shit and keep your eyes on the prize. If you think shit is more than you can bear, just hang on tight. White knuckle it through until help can arrive. I promise you, shit will work out all right. When you get a handle on shit, then memorize. Repeat to yourself, I am too great to minimize. My life means too much to jeopardize. Shit cannot fuck with me now because I am immunized. Say the worst shit was thrown at me and I am still alive. Say my shit is too powerful to be euthanized. Say that by not being beaten down by shit, I have advertised that the next time that shit happens, I am desensitized. Say I'm familiarized with your shit now so I can neutralize. You have exercised your worst shit and I'm still standing by. I can dust off that shit and hold my head up high. Say I've seen it all now so I am qualified. Say you will not catch me with that same shit twice. Say I have decided to live so I can testify that there is no shit that can undermine. When you have made it through shit, then inspire. Don't give shit back to other people. Empathize. Because you have been through shit, you have the power to advise. Give all the help you can provide. Know that coming through shit gives you the knowledge to guide. Remember, at the end of each tunnel, there is a light. Reach back and bring others alongside. Know that you are a goddess in disguise. Suffering through shit brings you close to the divine. Say I embrace all of my shit because it is mine. Come to terms with your shit and harmonize. Say I'm not ashamed of the shit that I've done because it clarified. Acknowledge the shit that you've done, but then let it fly. Say I had to experience that shit to come through the fire. Don't go back to that shit, just let it expire. If you are caught up in shit, then override. If shit is bringing you down, then purify. If you got too much shit, then simplify. When you have dreams for the future, past shit don't apply. Remember, out of cocoons come butterflies. Visualize what you want and then actualize. Remember, your true value cannot be priced. And don't ever let shit demoralize because you are the shit girl, so you can never be denied. Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much for having me. And thank you so much to the interpreters.
I really think that I speak for everybody here when I say that just thank you so much, Elle. And I'm just truly moved. I cried again, like I gotta be honest. All of the performers today, this has just been an absolute pleasure and the most amazing way to end off this week, which has also been so amazing. We started with a panel of different artist activists with disabilities talking about how they use art for protest. We had 2 spoken word workshops on how to use spoken word to connect with your needs as well as to perform protest. We had a film screening with Laurence Parent, who is an incredible activist, and she doesn't identify as a filmmaker, but she has made some incredible films about disability justice. And now we are ending here with this absolutely mind-blowing performance. I will now ask all of the performers to please turn your cameras back on so that we can see your lovely, lovely faces. And I'm going to go to the chat and see what sort of questions we have. So this question is for Elle. Bonnie has asked who, Bonnie Brayton, the executive director of Dawn Canada. She has said who, but the very longest possible, lots of W's, lots of H's, and lots of O's. I'm not sure what this means, but perhaps you do.
Oh, sorry. I don't know, Bonnie. But I really want to thank Bonnie for teaching all of us so much about ableism and disability rights, and also giving so many women in particular, and those who identify as women, a voice. Yeah, thank you, Bonnie, for your presence and your work.
Okay, she's clarified the question more. She says, how can we get the ableism into the ism space?
Yeah, no, this is a really important point. And I mean, Bonnie and I did a panel a few months ago where despite, identifying women issues affecting women during COVID, race was raised, class was raised, poverty was raised, and ableism was just completely left out. And, Bonnie had to do a lot of work to try and push just to have the word ableism included. And we know that, of course, that crosses so many different groups, right? The majority of people in prison are people with disabilities. Many Black people, of course, suffer health inequity. Many Black people suffer from or experience different conditions, right? Health disparity is across our communities. So it's really, a piece that's just left out of when we talk about equity. So I think we just have to continue to push that, people experience ableism in as crushing and as dehumanizing ways as we experience every other form of discrimination as well. And it's so often just ignored or left out, largely often, I think, because people living with disabilities are often also living in poverty, are often always restricted from platforms, have historically been seen as less human or less capable. And all of those things mean that people feel that you don't have to listen to people with disabilities, and that, people are just like the objects and not the subjects of their own stories. So Bonnie, the work you've done to continue to push that is really important. And it's really, I think, encouraged everybody to continue to talk about that. But it's tough, even in terms of using language, right? I see it myself, I'm trying to erase ableist language from, things I say, and it's so there, like we just say, oh, that's crazy, or, oh, that's lame, all these things. And then it's almost seen as extreme if you think that that's a problem. Like it's still seen as like, oh, why are you being so petty about language? So that shows you how embedded everything is. And then in many of our communities and families, like to be able to talk about disability, it's just not possible. We come from families and communities that say, just be strong, just get over it, keep your head up, do it till you die. And we're not really able, our grandmothers didn't talk about mental health. They didn't talk about chronic pain. They didn't talk about physical disability. They just did what they could. So we're still really trying to overcome that. So I don't have a good answer for it, other than I think we just all need to continue to speak out. People who are so vulnerable and honest about, their own experiences are really important too, just to highlight, how much this crosses across people. So I'm giving a really long answer, and I don't know if other people want to jump in. I'm sorry. People might also want to answer that. I think it's a good question.
Does anybody else have anything that they would like to add to that? No, we're also in awe of Elle Jones. Yes, okay, yes, amazing. So we don't have any other questions at the moment, but I will ask one. So this is sort of for everybody, but I will ask it to Maxine first, and then you can pass it on. Feel free to answer in French if you would like, but I will ask the question in English. So how does being an artist with a disability, how does it influence your artistic practice? And like, what would you say is the greatest strength that for your art that comes with your disability?
That's a big question. I'm in that kind of reflections all the time, and in my career path right now. Like the way it influences obviously is because like my body is my material, so it's not, I am not like a artist of words or something that I could maybe just not hide behind, but just like it, that would not be the first part of me that would be visible, but it is my body. So of course it has a big influence on how I present myself, how I move. And also, as you saw in the video, I can get out of my wheelchair. I can walk a little bit. So my challenges are mostly balance and speed. So when I'm without my wheelchair, I really have to be careful about my balance, so I cannot move fast. So I really need to work into slowness. But if I have my wheelchair, I can be really fast and it's really secure to me. So it allows me to do different things that I can't if I don't have it. So it's also like not only about the relationship that I have with my body, but also what I have with my mobility aid and my wheelchair. So, and to me, my wheelchair becomes a prop when I'm performing. So it's also different from the everyday use and relationship that I have with it. And it's different because even though we live in a really strong rooted ableist society, I know we can find ableism also in the art and entertainment industry, in culture, in performing arts, but I feel that I have really like the freedom to do whatever I want once I'm on stage, because I set up the parameters of the performance. And so there is no obstacle to me. So I know, I understand there are different other obstacles, and it also different from other performers. But to me, so I got the power to do what I want to do also. So this is really interesting. And when you contacted me to be part of the showcase, I was like, but are you sure like that I can fit in like with the theme that you have, and mobilization and protest? And you said yes. But I think that like my kind of protest, and it's a way for me to say like fuck you to society, basically, is to be present and visible in spaces that historically and socially I am excluded of. So just being there and do whatever I want to do, the way I want to do it, I think is a form of protest. So this is how I take it into my practice. And yeah, and to conclude, I am also questioning, and now like because I am a performer, I am an interpreter, so I am more than often at the service of other people. So it's also really interesting to just be used by other artists to present their views and reflections and messages. But in my own practice, I am like starting to work on my own pieces, and I am like in the next months or so, like really trying to get back to the history of my body, like the medical history, but also like just the history in general, to understand it more and how it influences the way I move and the way I perform. So this is kind of a really big question that I have right now, but I'm in that kind of process.
Wow, thank you so much. I feel like it is such a big question that I asked, and you answered it in such a big way, and connecting this event that is not necessarily about art and protest. Of course, Elle's work really is that, but the three of you, it's not necessarily that protest is in your work, but I think what you're saying about being a disabled artist, creating in this like ableist society that we're living in, that I mean, I'm not going to speak for everybody here, but I'm connecting to what Maxime has just said, that there is an element of resistance involved in that, and so thank you so much for that reflection. For me, that's really why I invited the three of you today, even though it's not necessarily like it's not necessarily exactly the theme. There's the element of that is still there. So thank you. Elle Jones had to leave because she's a busy lady who has another event to go to, but I know that I speak for the audience and the rest of the performers when I say thank you to her wherever she may be now for everything that she put forward. I want to be mindful of time and know that we only have 15 minutes left. We haven't had any more questions, so I will pass this question that I just asked on to Renee, if you would like to take it.
Sure. Can you all hear me okay?
Excellent,
Okay,
yes.
great. Yeah, I think I'm in a similar situation to Maxime where my work isn't always activist work. Sometimes I do write songs that are more in line with protest and activism. But I would say the strength that my disability brings to my work, which was part of your original question, right? Yeah, is that it makes me as a writer very compassionate and very empathetic. So I'm able, a songwriter will write songs not just about their own life, but about the lives of others. And so if you're able to open your mind to what another perspective might look like, you can write richer and richer material. And not only that, but I'm able to write in a way that includes the largest number of people possible. So, as a disabled songwriter, I am sensitive to language changes that are, happening all the time. And not just inside the disability community, but in other communities that are also experiencing oppression around language specifically. And so I feel very strongly about allowing my work to be enjoyed by the largest number of people possible. Why exclude people from enjoying your work because you need to include one little word, So I feel very grateful, in fact, for my disability to have given me that strength.
Amazing. Thank you so much for that. I think that that's a really powerful reflection on empathy and how being marginalized in whatever way impacts how we experience empathy because of a desire to have other people feel empathy towards you. So thank you very much for that reflection. Eli, would you like to take this question too?
Do you mind restating the question?
Yes, I also forgot what my question was. But the main part of it was, how do you feel that your disability is like a boon or like a benefit to your artistic practice?
Cool. Yeah, it's interesting because I haven't really labeled myself as disabled, which is not to say that I don't feel part of the community. It's like this funny thing. I mean, I'm coming to a place, I think, right now where it's feeling more and more like it makes sense for me to use that label. But I think for a long time, because what am I trying to say? Because I'm not able-bodied, but I think for a long time I thought I was able-bodied because we have such a narrow view of what disability is as well. And often this narrow view is based on, a visually obvious physical disability, right? And I think for a long time that was kind of my interpretation of disability. I was, I've been in pain and have had chronic pain for my whole life, I think, at this point. But I also didn't recognize it because the thing with chronic pain is that you kind of get used to it. It's there. You don't really realize that your body is affected differently than other people's bodies, right? And so it's only in the past few years that I've been like, oh, something's up. Like, ideally, someone is not in this much pain all the time, and so that kind of started off, like the reason why I wrote Not Body in part was because I was investigating what that meant for me. And I think writing for me is really investigative in that way. I like to do a lot of research. The book, while it is poems and kind of a personal essay, it's also infused with research and was in conversation with a lot of other disabled artists and writers, which feels important for me. So I think like part of a strength of, if I'm getting back to your question, part of a strength of my work is, or a part of the thing that strengthens my work when it comes to being disabled, or even for me being trans, being person of color, you know, all of my marginalized identities, is that I care a lot about other people and I love being in conversation with other people. And I think adding my voice to the conversation helps like make the conversation larger, makes it more prominent, you know, brings disability and ableism more publicly into the sphere. But also, yeah, like creates community. And I think for me, when it comes to writing and performing, community is really important for me. And I think like as a writer, often we imagine or we're told the writer is like this solo person who doesn't really interact with other people and is like really in their head and is like, you know, either like writing by hand or now typing on the computer, and that they live outside of the world somehow, that they like aren't affected by the world. And I think so many of the marginalized identities I have make it hard to be not of the world, you know, because I'm both excluded and hyper visible at the same time. And I like that, you know, there's nothing about the way that I am that I would want to change. I mean, I think with pain, it's like a funny, now I'm ranting, I think, but with pain, it's funny because I think with, you know, all the conversations that I've been reading and having about disability, pain kind of sits, like people with chronic pain, it kind of sits on another side of the disability conversation, because when it comes to most people who are disabled, the like kind of initial conversation that people are trying to bring to the world is that there's nothing wrong with being disabled, and that disabled people are should be accommodated by the world rather than being excluded from the world, and that it's not an issue that someone is disabled, it's an issue that the world is ableist, right? But when it comes to pain, there's like something about getting rid of pain that I think is not a conversation in the rest of the disabled community, because it doesn't have to be, and it shouldn't be. Like someone shouldn't have to cure themselves, quote unquote, because there's nothing wrong with them. Whereas with pain, it's like this funny thing of like being, you know, a lot of people who are in pain don't want to be in pain, which is like fair. And I think there's like a conversation around chronic pain about it being okay to want to have that change in your life and to want to get rid of pain, because it's not, you know, you're not going to be a better disabled person for suffering in this way, you know? So, you know, like, I think part of my writing is also thinking through these conversations and bringing them to the forefront. And, you know, like my book is one of like the only books in Canada, or like on this part of Turtle Island, that talks about pain in like a very big way, which is not to say that there aren't other writers who will be talking about it. I just think that I managed to publicly talk about it and maybe other people haven't. And so that feels important to me as well, you know, like starting a conversation where other people can join the conversation and know that talking about these things are important, and that, you know, talking about your personal experiences can be art. And you can make art out of your personal experience, and that those two things don't have to be separate. So that's my long answer to this question. I feel like I went everywhere, but.
No, it's a really, really powerful reflection. And I think that we live in a society where it is so, we live in a society, sorry, but where it is so, we have this like idea of like, you have to be okay, and you always have to say that I'm okay. And when people ask you, how are you doing? You can't be authentic with that and really say like how it is. And so I think that it is so true. When I read your book, that it really does open this conversation about how you don't have to be okay. Like there's like pain is a conversation that we need to be having, and that there's nothing wrong with being vocal about the ressenti of your core. Whoa, I said French words in English. I really apologize. About the things that your body is feeling, or for me, the things that my mind is feeling that mean that I can't integrate into society, for example, in the way that they want me to. So thank you so much. And
Can I rebound? Can I rebound on this?
Please, please.
Thanks. Like what I want to say is like, it's joining what Eli and Renee just said, and you too, Avery. Is like, if we take, for instance, still my performance in the video that we show, like the concept of inclusive dance is like and what I liked and what brought me to that field is like, it cannot exist without the specificities of the bodies of the two performers. And the figure and the tableau cannot exist if I don't use my wheelchair, if it's not present, or if the way I move is not the way I move. And so I think like our specificities help us to be compassionate and open and empathetic, like Renee said, but also like Eli, like your pain is part of your lived experience. I do have chronic pain too, and most of the time my mind is more focused on accessibility issues because and but it's still part of me. And also pain sometimes will make me move different ways just because I will compensate, and so it has an effect on figures that I do or like improv that I do. So it's really interesting the way you use it as well in your pieces. And so if you didn't have that, if it wasn't part of you, you wouldn't write the same stuff. And so it's also like, because we have it, and that it's a lived experience that we put through our arts and conversations. And so it couldn't exist the way it exists right now if it wasn't because of it.
Thank you so much for that reflection. And I really think that that's like a core, like of of what Dawn wanted to tap into with having art be our theme for National Accessibility Week. Like this art could not exist without disability, and this specific form of art, which is like so meaningful and important for both people with disabilities and people who need to like open their mind up to a new mindset, can really benefit from. So yeah, thank you for putting into a beautiful sentence like what we've been trying to say with a whole week of events. It's really great. We only have 3 minutes left, and we do have a final question. So I think that I will let one of you answer it, and then we will wrap up. And so before I pose this question, I wanted to say thank you again to all of our artists, to Maxime, Renee, Eli, and Elle for sharing their beautiful work with us today, and for all of the audience members for being here, and to anybody who will watch this YouTube video in the future. Thank you for also tuning in with us. I will be watching this video a couple more times, I think. So this final question is from Mackenzie, and it is, how do you set boundaries for yourself when it comes to being open about your disability and pain? Where do you draw the line between expression and exploitation? And then in brackets, it says, if you feel that way. Who would like to take this question?
I can take that question.
Great.
Because I feel like in recent years, I have purposefully made an effort to put up boundaries around talking about my disability in music and in my work. And it's just because the longer I've had chronic pain, the less I want the opinion of others. And I do feel that when you're writing about disability, it sometimes invites, like it seems like an invitation to other people to give you their opinion. When in fact, if you're expressing an experience, it doesn't mean you want to hear what other people think about it. It just means you want to share what you're going through. So, you know, I've been trying to grapple with that. Like, why do I belong in disability arts if I'm not making art about disability? But just being an artist who is disabled is enough to be considered a disability artist. It's enough to just, it's totally powerful just to be disabled and create and to live in, you know, in society with everybody else when you're meant to be excluded or when your voice is meant to be silenced. So yeah, how to put up boundaries, I think it takes a conscious decision to do so, but it can be done if you have to really grapple with your level of comfort. You know, how much do you want people to know or not know? It takes a lot of reflection, I would say.
Thank you so much for that. And what a great note for us to end on today. So thank you all for coming. And I'm going to stop the live stream. Before I do that, thank you to our interpreters, to the whole ASL and LSQ interpretation team, to the captioners, to the French English interpreters. And I really look forward to working with you all again and to seeing the audience at future events. Thank you so much. Bye.